Coming up on ATV News, the votes are in. We'll show you who won the Logan mayoral race.
After a couple of weeks, the leaves are still falling off the trees. We'll show you how the city takes care of this messy fall cleanup.
Find out who got a D on their report card.
That pass went about 20 yards. We'll show you how many yards Daryl Garrettson threw for to break a freshman record on ATV Sports.
The snow is almost gone, but will it be replaced? I'll let you know coming up in ATV weather.
That and more coming up on this week's ATV News.
Welcome to this week's edition of ATV News. I'm Lee Kubik.
And I am Marie Tietze.
The votes are in, the ballots are counted, and it looks like Logan will have a new mayor. Challenger Craig Peterson beat incumbent Randy Watts in yesterday's election. Peterson received 2,504 votes, and Watts received 2,100 votes. Some 160 provisional ballots still need to be counted, but Peterson is still the clear winner. In Hyde Park, polling stations saw a pretty big turnout. City Recorder Danya Wright thinks this may have been from the vote to allow alcohol sales in the city.
Mostly due to the alcohol ordinance. People are pretty interested in the turnout of that. There's been a lot of debate back and forth about different issues associated with that.
The alcohol proposition passed with 859 votes for and 481 votes against, meaning Hyde Park businesses can now sell beer.
I don't drink, I'm not for that, but what I am for is Hyde Park City being able to attract additional businesses to come to Hyde Park.
Mayor Cox says the Maverick gas station in Hyde Park is estimating a sales increase of 24% with the new ordinance. So there was one couple that was handing these out against the new ordinance.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. If you can see, it says Maverick. It's an interesting, clever little idea. How would you feel knowing some schools in the Valley got a D grade on statewide testing? Victoria Hepworth is live to show us why these two schools in Logan got a low score. And I heard she's got a student with her now. Victoria?
Thanks, Marie. I'm here with Lily Champagne at Luke's Cafe. Lily, how are you doing?
I'm good.
And Lily, can you tell us what school you go to?
Edith Bowen Laboratory School.
Is it a good school?
Yes.
And do you like taking tests?
No.
But do you like getting good grades?
Yes.
I bet you look pretty smart, so I bet you get good grades. But overall, your school didn't get a very good grade. But it wasn't anything you or any of the other students did wrong. Do you think that's fair?
No.
Well, do you think we should show everybody why?
Yes.
These students are just average kids, but the state of Utah gave them a grade far below average.
Of course, it's heartbreaking because of all the work that we and our students put into the learning.
Bad test results are made worse, administrators say, because it was a mistake.
I think it was really kind of foolhardy to give a school a score based on 1/3 of the data that could actually count.
The kids you see here are very smart, but because of the low grade, it doesn't look that way.
The score is what it is. It's not a reflection at all of the great job the teachers have done.
Logan High School students also took the test. Well, some of them.
We didn't even test half of the kids that were in that because they were already advanced. They'd already advanced out of the algebra, geometry, and algebra 2.
The students in upper level math classes didn't take the test, which means the lower level students represented them all.
U.S. News World Report ranked Logan High School as the top public high school in the state of Utah. So, you know, that, and then you get a C on a report card. Well, which is true? They both are true.
Principal Ogden still thinks the students are getting a great education, but says that it can always improve?
I think that the scores are what they are. The data is what it is, and of those kids that took the test, we have work to do. And I don't think anybody here would argue that you know what, we can always do better, and we need to look at better ways of reaching all of our kiddos.
It's important to note that both principals don't want to blame anyone. They just think it's a unfortunate mistake. Thanks for being with me, Lily.
Now back to you, Marie.
Thanks, Lily, and thank you, Victoria. The state is coming up with a new test for this year, and both principals said they are hoping to get better results.
I was outside today and it started snowing, which means fall is almost over. But the leaves are still falling from the trees, and Logan City is still working to clean them up. Logan City has been running its twice-a-year cleanup program where they go around the city in vacuum trucks like this, sucking up leaves that residents have raked along the edge of the gutter. Even though people still do it, residents are asked not to rake leaves directly into the gutter as it blocks water from flowing when there's a storm. This causes flooding. It is against city ordinance to block or restrict waterways.
One of the main reasons we do it is to keep the storm drainage areas clear and clean from plugging up. One of the biggest things that we work on is storm water, and to keep our waterways so that the water is flowing.
Logan City also asks people to bag leaves wherever possible, as this makes the cleanup easier. The cleanup will be in effect until the Thanksgiving holiday or as long as weather permits.
Still to come, you may think that graduating sooner would be a choice students would like, but some students say it's not that easy.
And we'll show you a worldwide event that came to USU. Two students at Skyview will be missing school for the week after wearing KKK costumes to school on Halloween. Here at Skyview, students are in school like normal, but the two 16-year-olds that wore the Klan costumes are not. Their fellow students are still in school, but they will notice the missing juniors. Some students think suspending the teens is too harsh. Others think it was the right thing to do.
I think that was very offensive of them and they shouldn't have done it, and the fact that they're on the football team, that doesn't help either.
I feel like it was meant to just be like a little joke, not get this blown out of proportion, but I mean, it can take offense to some people, and I really do understand that, and they should have rethought their costume probably.
They are both on the JV football team, and one of them wrote on Facebook saying how sorry he was and apologized to other students and anyone else who may have been offended.
Goodbye.
What if we told you can graduate college sooner by taking one more class? That sounds pretty easy.
That does sound easy, but some students at USU say it isn't. We went out to show you how one campaign might not be for everyone.
This video is from the 15 to Finish campaign. It encourages students to earn their degree faster and get a job quicker. The Utah system of higher education says that 28% of USU students are taking 15 credits or more this semester. 35% are taking 12 to 14 credits. If those students added one more class, 60% of USU students could be taking 15 or more credits.
If you take an extra class every semester, you can graduate in 4 years for a bachelor's and save yourself an entire year of tuition.
But some students say that one more class is still too much of a workload.
I wouldn't mind another elective, and that requires no other outside work, but I can't even fit that. It doesn't require additional work, but I can't fit that into my day.
We want the college completion rate to go up in the state. We know that students or that people can get better jobs and get on with their life and acquire less debt if they finish college more quickly.
According to the Utah system of higher education, 50% of high school graduates go to college, and 50% of those students actually graduate college. That's 25% of students actually going to college and graduating.
As a state, we all benefit from having an educated workforce who can get the best jobs and contribute back to the state.
The Utah system of higher education says that they are not targeting students who are taking 6 credits this semester, but students who are taking 12 and who can manage to take on one more class.
TEDx is an event that happens all around the world. Utah State hosted their second annual event Tuesday at the Performance Hall on campus. Our Bradley Wells takes us inside.
Near best that survive.
Really what we're looking for is for someone who has an idea worth spreading, which is the tagline for TED.
This year our theme was Survive.
Every speaker invited had some connection to that theme, even when talking about clothes.
Another felt hat that was very popular was the...
I never thought I could care about clothes, but somehow she has a way of getting you to care about something so silly and menial.
Jennifer trusted me.
And Angelo is a photographer by trade who, over the last few years, documented his wife's struggle with and eventual death from cancer, breast cancer. He came to talk about what survival meant to him.
After months of preparation, everything came together.
We were really pleased. We've been working with them for months, and we've had multiple dry runs. We've had them in our office for weeks, trying to work through just the kinks and everything about how they present and their content, and trying to help them to be as comfortable as they could be.
The Performance Hall at Utah State campus can hold around 400 people. When the tickets for TEDx event went on sale, they sold out within 2 hours.
The size of the audience is an important part of the TED experience. It's supposed to be an intimate setting where a presenter is really sharing an idea with a small group.
But I'm definitely going to do it again next year. It was a great use of an afternoon, a great way to learn and grow.
The Performance Hall here is so beautiful and does such a good job of making that 400 people seem like 25 that it may be tough for us to move from here.
The organizers say they don't plan on moving to another location. Bradley Wells, ATV News.
Organizers are already planning for next year's event and say they hope to continue the success they have already had.
Auctions. That word probably makes you think about an auctioneer who you can't understand. Items being sold and bidding wars. Well, that's what happens at the Smithfield livestock auction, but the items being sold have legs and go moo.
Have you ever thought about where that burger came from? Well, chances are it started just up the road at the Smithfield livestock auction.
We market livestock for producers in the area that have animals to sell.
And they sell a lot.
400 or 500 or 600, depending on how many come in that day.
Buyers come from all over to bid on animals that are brought into this arena. Animals like calves, sheep, cows, and the occasional alpaca, which sold for only $2.
I actually picked it up from the lady this morning, and she was just happy to not have to feed it anymore.
That may sound like a different language to most, but to the seasoned buyer, it's a bidding war for the best bargain. And after these cows are purchased, they could end up on your plate.
Those will be hamburger before the end of next week. If you go to Wendy's, that's a good chance that that's where that meat will end up, because they always buy local meat, and that's those old killer bulls is what we call them. That's typically what they get turned into, is ground up into hamburger.
So if you buy local, there's a chance that the cow came from here. Brandon Fonda, ATV News.
If you'd like to get in on the bidding or just sit back and watch, the auction is at 1 o'clock every first and third Thursday of each month.
When we come back, Aaron Griffiths will be bringing you your Cache Valley weather report.
Right now, the current temperature is 46 degrees. 5 degrees changed on me.
$9,222.
Aaron, I saw that it was snowing earlier today.
It was a little bit. There was some snow flurries here this morning. Nothing like we had the last couple days, but definitely a change in temperature that we've been facing. As far as snow is concerned, there's been some ski resorts down south. Solitude is set to open on Friday, so definitely enough snow to make that happen. So let's go ahead and take a look outside. As you can see, not much going on right now. It seems like all of the snow and things have moved away. There was some wind earlier, but it looks like that's kind of moved out as well. So pretty calm out there right now. Let's go ahead now and take a look at the current temps across the state. We'll see if we can get up here. It looks like we're having some technical difficulties. Hopefully it'll come on. If not, well, I know it's, here we go. Now we're in. We've got 45 degrees currently here in Logan. 45 in Ogden, 48 in Salt Lake, 45 in Provo, 37 over in Vernal today for a high, 46 in Delta, and 40 in Price. So definitely some colder temperatures. Let's go ahead and take a look at our national radar. As you can see, a lot of precipitation going on from Texas all the way up to the Great Lakes. So that should continue to move over to the East Coast. What we've got is a high pressure right here in the middle of the United States, which is pushing it that way, keeping most of the Midwest clean. So as we take a look at Utah, as we zoom in, we've got Logan here. We're seeing a little bit, like we said, of some precipitation floating around. Not much. That should continue to move out, and we should begin to clear out for the rest of the week. Let's go ahead and take a look at our 7-day forecast. Our 7-day forecast, there we go. Here we go. So today, high of 46, low of 34, high of 53 tomorrow with a low of 38, and then Friday, 52, 34, and we'll warm up all the way to 60 degrees come Monday. So definitely warming back up. We got a nice taste of winter, but definitely not all the way to winter yet. So I know I looked at the temperatures for Vegas this weekend. High of 73 on Saturday for the Aggie game.
Home
should be a good one.
Home sweet home, Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm actually going down there to watch the game, so
should be great
it'll
weather,
be pretty fun. And speaking of the football game, coming up in ATV Sports, Daryl Garrettson and the Aggies take to the air against winless Hawaii. And Aggie volleyball takes on the 9th-ranked Colorado State Rams in the Spectrum. Welcome back, guys. I'm Eric Jungblut, and this is ATV Sports. A lot has happened in the world of Aggie sports over the last week, so let's cut the chit-chat and get right to the highlights. USU football is back to their winning ways after a 2-game slump against BYU and BSU. The Aggies were looking to make it 2 straight victories on Saturday when they hosted Hawaii. Jason Borba was on the sidelines bringing you the big plays.
The Hawaii Warriors didn't get into Logan until about 4 a.m. because of the shootings that happened at Los Angeles Airport. We'll see how a 2 p.m. kickoff time will affect them against the Utah State Aggies. It seemed as though the late arrival hurt Hawaii as USU's Daryl Garrettson finds Bruce Natson for the touchdown on the Aggies' first drive. That was just the beginning for Garrettson as he would have a huge day throwing the ball, finishing with a freshman record 370 passing yards.
We have a freshman who come in here and put on his big boy pants.
Garrettson threw 2 more touchdowns, this one to Travis Reynolds.
Touchdown, Aggies!
And this one to roommate Wyatt Houston.
That's what we want out of him. We want him to play a little bit better each and every week, and I thought he was very, very efficient.
Getting the ball to the wide receivers, and really they just made the plays, and all I was doing was facilitating.
Garrettson wasn't the only one with a monster game. The defense racked up not 1, not 2, but 3 interceptions, including this one by Kyler Fackrell, who takes it to the house as USU rolls 47-10.
And anytime you can score a defensive touchdown, that's huge. And just happy for Kyler and the whole defense on that deal.
With the win, Utah State improves to 5-4 on the season and are 1 game away from clinching their 3rd consecutive bowl game. From Romney Stadium, Jason Borba, ATV Sports.
Thanks, Jason. USU hits the road this week as they take on the Rebels of UNLV. The Women's Mountain West Soccer Tournament is in full swing in Albuquerque, New Mexico. The 5th-seeded Aggies are turning some heads by advancing to the semifinals. USU played Nevada on Monday night and came away with a 2-0 win. On Tuesday, they took on host New Mexico State and knocked off the Lobos in a penalty shootout. Now the Aggies take on number 1 seed San Diego State Wednesday night with a spot in the championship on the line. Coming into this weekend, the USU volleyball team was riding a 5-game win streak that started at Wyoming. On Thursday night, the Aggies had a chance to continue the streak against the Cowgirls. The Aggies got off to a hot start with Tamua Etamani slamming it to the court. Later, the Cowgirls return an Aggie serve, but they are met by an Aggie block party to stuff the shot. The block party continues as both Paige Neves and Caitlin Van Hoff go up and get Wyoming's attempt. USU was able to pull away and take the 3-1 victory.
It always feels great getting a big win, obviously. I mean, a win is a win, and so it's nice to be 8-3 now.
On Saturday, the volleyball team had their chance at redemption against number 9 Colorado State. In the first 2 sets, the Aggies were able to do what no other team has done since November 2011, take a 2-0 lead over the Rams. Caitlin Van Hoff slams this pass from Paige Neves to keep the Aggies rolling. The next 3 sets were a different story. CSU was able to claw their way back by taking the final 3 sets and the close-fought victory. While the streak is over, the Aggies look to start a new streak this weekend as they travel to Colorado Springs to take on the Air Force Falcons. Let's move on to club sports now. USU's hockey team is known for heavy hitting and physical play, and that often leads to time in the penalty box. However, the Aggies cleaned up their act against the University of Utah over the weekend. U of U got on the board first with this goal by Seamus Bertagnoli in the first period. The Utes wouldn't hold the lead for long as USU opens the floodgates in the second period. Goals by Riley Orr, Sean Gibbons, and Cooper Lim put the Aggies up 3-1, and that got the crowd pumped up. Defenseman Ty Johns puts this one in for the Aggies. Utah scores one more time, but that would be it for them as the Aggies take a 4-2 win at home. USU only had 2 penalties on the night after notching 12 last week against ASU. USU's next home game is Saturday, November 9th at the Eccles Ice Center, and the puck drops at 7 p.m. So it was a pretty busy week in Aggie sports.
But Eric, do you think that the women's soccer team will get their revenge on San Diego?
It's going to be tough. I mean, San Diego's the number 1 seed for a reason. They're a very good, very deep, talented team. I'm rooting for the Aggies, but I don't know if they can pull it out.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thanks, Eric. Well, coming up, we'll introduce you to a group of students whose projects may be traveling further than you'd expect.
And an upside to the colder weather means the end to using detours. Will you ever be able to say that you sent something into space? Well, a group of students at USU can, and after next year, they may be able to say they've done something no other students have. Our Jenna Lynn brings you inside information on this project.
This machine is one of the many tests the Getaway Special Team uses on objects before they're sent up into space.
We use that so that we can shake our spacecraft and see if it's going to fall apart or be damaged in any ways.
This vacuum is another test simulating space's atmosphere. And this UV chamber is yet another one.
We're simulating the UV radiation as it is in space.
These simulations are used on things like this, a small satellite called a CubeSat.
10 centimeters by 10 centimeters by 10 centimeters.
The CubeSat goes into space holding in condensed objects before it expands in space's atmosphere.
We need cheaper ways to get into space. And one way to make things cheaper in space is to compress the size and the volume that they take up when you launch them into space. So this experiment shows that as we launch a spacecraft into space, we can increase its size exponentially.
The team is working to get this sent up by December 2014.
One of the only undergraduate groups that are building out full CubeSat 100% by themselves.
But it certainly won't be the first satellite the team's put into space over the last 40 years they've been a club. 3 POPAC satellites they're tracking now were just sent up in September.
There are 3 balls, and each ball is the same size, however they're different masses.
The brightness is what's called a 10th magnitude star, so with your naked eye you can't see them.
And it's not just because they're not very bright that you can't see them. These satellites aren't much bigger than this tennis ball, but the team is able to track them to see how they're affected by things like solar storms, so that they can better understand why bigger satellites that control things like our GPS are affected in these times. Jenna Lynn, ATV News.
Thanks, Jenna. The GAS team is hoping for approval for their CubeSat satellite to come in by the end of the month.
Winter brings more than snow. The harder ground means valley construction is starting to wrap up for the year. The tractors are still running today, but they won't be for long. City officials say they still have projects running this month, but hope to have all work done and the traffic cones cleaned up by the end of November. Locals say they're excited to have the roads clear up again. The section connecting 100 South and Center Street will be closed until spring, but city officials say the other projects will be cleaned up in the next few weeks. Thank you for joining us on the edition of ATV News.
Make sure to join us next week for more of your Cache Valley news. Have a great day.